Good evening. We'll call the City of Norwich Zoning Board of Appeals for Thursday, October 16th. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, Dave Martin. Present. Ed Aberbach. Present. Bob Phoenix. Present. Paul Butcher. Present. Dottie Trapp.
Present.
Mark Benjamin present. Also present, Rich Shuck. Staff, we do have a quorum. 2, 5, so we will see. Ed, you're still classified as an alternate, correct?
Yeah.
So we'll seat you on this and Paul, you'll remain alternate.
Thank you.
Acceptance of the September 9th and October 7th meeting. Those were submitted. Any errors?
Separately.
Your call, your motion, your call.
I'd like to make a motion to accept both the September 9th, 2025 and the October 7th, 2025 meeting minutes of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I found no corrections that is needed. Anybody else with a second and corrections?
I'll second that. I didn't see any errors.
Okay.
All those in favor to accept as presented?
Bob Phoenix, aye.
Did I Rebecca?
Dave Martin, aye. Mark Benjamin, aye.
Dottie, aye.
These minutes have been accepted as presented. Unanimous. Old business, public hearing continued from October 7th, 2025. Application V 2512, 60 Crouch Ave, appeal for use variance of section 1.4.2.3 to allow multifamily dwellings by site plan review in accordance with section 6.4, subject to the bulk requirements of the multifamily district to facilitate the conversion of a former nursing home. Property of Norwich Senior Realty LLC, application of Stanley Abraham, assessors map number 125, block 2, lot 13, in the R20 zone.
Okay, so
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the reading of the exhibit list in favor of the evidence in front of us.
I'll second. All those in favor to waive the
Bob
reading?
Phoenix, aye.
Did I Rebecca?
Dottie, aye.
Dave Martin, aye. Mark Benjamin, aye. Unanimous. Okay.
for the exhibits, I did receive a letter from a butter, which he wanted to make sure got into the record. I emailed it to everybody. You all have a copy here.
From Attorney Langham.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So would you like me to read that into the record?
I'd like to make a motion that the letter from Attorney Langheimer become part of the exhibit list to be marked as exhibit 21.
It's in the exhibit list already.
Already 18, sorry, my apologies. Withdraw my motion and revise to accept the letter from the budding neighbor without reading.
Did I Rebecca?
Second.
All those in favor to accept it as exhibit without being read?
Bob Phoenix, aye.
Did I Rebecca?
Dave Martin, aye. Mark Benjamin, aye. Dottie?
Dottie, aye.
Been entered into the record. We'll get the exhibits. We got this. Do you want to give us the backstory to this before we take testimony, Rich? How we got here, and then let Attorney Sweeney explain.
So kind of the backstory, and I had also forwarded you the memorandums that I sent to CCP with the referral. So kind of the backstory is it's a nursing home that closed. Not the market, but challenging. Every single phone call was for some sort of housing. And then the state passed a public act that required municipalities to allow by site plan review conversions of nursing homes to multifamily dwellings.
Thank
In
you.
that-
Just a second.
Yeah.
Could you explain the difference between a site plan review and what the normal review process is?
Well, so you have site plan review, which is not as discretionary as a special permit. So when something requires a special permit, the commission has a little bit more discretion with requirements, conditions on it. Site plan, if it meets the regulations, theoretically, the commission has to approve it if it meets the regulations. That's, so back to the Public Act. So on the Public Act, it was for every municipality except special act communities. And as everybody's aware, Norwich is a special act community. So kind of in lockstep with, I think, the spirit of what the statute was supposed to be. The only viable option, if somebody wants to convert it to multifamily, is to do it, to get a variance, because the commission can't even get an application and review it until there's a variance in place. So, you know, after consulting with numerous people, including Attorney Sweeney, this made the most sense, you know, and Attorney Driscoll agreed on that as well, that the only path is with a variance, which is basically in harmony with what the state statute was. All the other towns, when it passed, it was mandated they must allow it. So all these towns that had no regulations for it in specific districts. So like we have multifamily standards in our multifamily district. We don't have multifamily standards in the R20 district. So as part of this application, the applicant has offered to do so that there's guardrails and guidelines for the development to do it under what the multifamily development standards, district standards would be for multifamily. And that would be part, so that would be locked in as whatever the multifamily district standards are for multifamily development would be locked onto this property for this project. Because otherwise, there's no standards to follow.
Sorry, this project only.
Yes,
So if I understand this correctly, we are being asked to consider a variance from the R20 district standards to allow multifamily unit use in that district.
so the variance, and I don't want to, if I describe this, I'm going to describe it in layman's terms. If I am incorrect, let me.
I'll definitely take that chance.
Okay, so
Right.
the variance is a use variance to allow the conversion of the former nursing home to multifamily dwelling in the R20 zone, utilizing the multifamily district standards.
But aren't we also varying that particular building in the R20 zone to be allowed? I mean, aren't we asking to vary the R20 zone?
I
regulations?
guess in essence, yes, but the variance is to allow for the conversion. And I think the theory and the way the application was prepared and everything else was deficit was, here's what the statute was. We're exempt. The only way they can be in harmony with what the statute was and correct it is the R20 zone. So.
Well, okay,
It's
so
an existing building.
yeah, and since take it one step farther,
Yep.
being an existing building, regardless of what we allow it to become.
Yep.
Is still not conforming in the R20 zone, so shouldn't we?
The building is conform, the building and the nursing home use is conforming in the zone. What's not conforming is the multifamily use.
Right. So by tentatively approving to allow it to become a multifamily unit.
Yep.
It now becomes non-conforming in R20 zone, is that, if that's how I
No,
know?
no, because the variance makes it, allows it to be conforming by the variance. Because the non-conforming part, as I kind of said before, he couldn't submit a site plan application for review and approval by the commission without first securing a variance. So the variance is, so for instance, if you have a setback, if somebody comes to me with an application to build a garage and they want that garage to be built in the setback, I can't approve a zoning permit for that garage to be built in the setback until after the variance is granted. Then I can approve my zoning permit. The same with the CCP. They can't approve something that does not comply with the regulations.
Okay. All right, I'm just concerned about the owner not getting what he needs to have in order to move forward, as far as the zoning regulations are concerned. So it sounds to me like we need to consider both. If you say so, we'll move forward.
What I got out of this was this is just a cleanup of the regulation because we're a special
Do you know if the G's
You know.
are going with me?
way we're not.
Deals have been meeting me.
If we were not a special act community, it would be a lot easier to proceed. If everything else, and that's just the way Norwich is established.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
it's
not-
special act, right?
It's not so much the variance in the way our system is set up.
All right.
And that's kind of where,
Good explanation.
Yeah, the way
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, it's a multi-island inside of R20 zone.
Right.
And he's asking to go ahead based on the R20, based on residential.
it's not as much the regulations we're trying to vary is the umbrella we're working on.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, because if we were not a special act community, this variance wouldn't be.
it would have been a rubber stamp. and
It would have
everything
been
else,
to
right?
the commission already.
Yeah,
All right. Any other questions before we use the applicant?
Nope,
All
thank
right.
you.
Name and address for the record and what you'd like to do, and why you need a variance to do it.
Thank you, Chairman Benjamin. Good evening. My name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a land use attorney and I'm a partner at the law firm of Tobin Carberry in London, Connecticut. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. And I want to thank the board on the outset for holding this special meeting tonight as a courtesy to me. So thank you so much for doing that. I'm appearing tonight on behalf of New London Properties LLC, which is a Connecticut limited liability company. New London Properties LLC has a contract to purchase the vacant nursing home located at 60 Crouch Avenue. That's just for Veterans Elementary School, if you're familiar with the area. That's in the Laurel Hill section of the city. We are seeking a variance tonight of section 1.4.2.3 of the zoning regulations to allow us to adaptively reuse and renovate this former nursing home into multifamily dwellings. That renovation will be subject to site plan review in front of the Commission on the City Plan, and it will be developed in accordance with section 6.4, which is the town's multifamily regulations, and subject to the special bulk requirements of the MF district. To answer, I think, Board Member Phoenix's concern, this application is specific to this site. So if the variance is granted tonight, it doesn't mean that any nursing home in the city can be turned to multifamily. It is specific to this site in this specific set of circumstances. And if the variance is granted and we go before the Commission on the City Plan, multifamily use is now a conforming use in the R20 for this particular site and this particular site only. So I think that should address the concern that was voiced. Joining me tonight in the audience, I have Dave Wolberg. Dave is my client's real estate broker. He put this deal together and he's worked really hard on it and brought it to me a few months ago. As I think the record reflects, the Commission on the City Plan reviewed this use variance application as it does all use variance applications. It did so at its regular meeting last month and it ordered a unanimous favorable recommendation to the board for your consideration. Also for the record, just want to point out that we delivered notice of this special meeting and hearing to all abutters as required by your regulations. We certified that notice to your staff. I've got a handout that I'd like to hand out. I didn't know that Mr. Shook would be nice enough to print everything out for everyone. So there is some duplication here in these handouts, but there are some photos at the back of this package, which I took this morning, which I know you don't have. It may be instructive if you aren't familiar with the site or you haven't had a chance to look through it. And Mr. Shuck, if you could just mark, I have one for you that should come around.
I got it.
If you just mark that as Exhibit 21, I would appreciate it. And you can follow along and look at that at your leisure. As I mentioned, my client is actively pursuing a redevelopment plan for the property, this long abandoned nursing home, to renovate the existing facility and adaptively reuse it for multifamily housing. My client hopes to develop 45 attainably priced one-bedroom units within the old nursing home. The property, it encompasses about 10 acres of land at the end of Crouch Avenue. It sits on the border with the town of Preston, which is to the east. And as Mr. Shuck indicated, it is in an R20 district where new multifamily dwellings are typically not permitted. As some of you who are longtime Norwich residents may know, the original nursing home facility was constructed in the late 1960s and then was expanded again in the late 1990s. In 1990, the Commission on the City Plan approved that expansion, turning the nursing home into a conforming structure at that time. For nearly 50 years, the facility has been occupied by different nursing and convalescent care operations, going by a variety of different names. The nursing home itself, if you've been out there, if you can look at my pictures, it's a 2-story masonry building. It's still in relatively good condition. The structural bones of the building are in good shape still. And it encompasses approximately 33,000 square feet, served up by on-site paved parking areas that surround the building, and it has access to public utilities. Its interior, and you can see this on some of the conceptual sketches we've done for the project, its interior is already configured into a series of nursing home rooms along corridors, making viable reuse options, quite frankly, limited, the way it's laid out right now. In its final incarnation, the nursing home, which was known then as the Three Rivers Healthcare Center, was forcibly closed by the state of Connecticut in 2020 during the COVID-19 outbreak. There was a number of deaths in the facility, and it has remained empty ever since that closure. The site is abandoned. It has fallen into some disrepair. If you see the front windows, it's been the target of repeated vandalism, break-ins. There's been stuff stripped out of the building. It's obviously becoming an eyesore, and it's an attractive nuisance in this neighborhood. Recently, a potential new operator for a nursing home use sought to reopen this nursing home, but was denied licensure from the state of Connecticut due to a lack of demonstrable need for an additional facility in this region. Now, some of you may know that the nursing home industry has fallen into very difficult times throughout the country, but especially here in Connecticut. Modernized senior and assisted living facilities with big and fancy amenity packages have swallowed up much of what we call the private pay aging population, people who can afford to pay for those types of accommodations. And that has left the existing nursing homes in the state to operate on really razor thin margins and almost completely dependent on state assistance, people who can't pay to be there. They're basically on Medicaid or Title 19. As a result, like so many other similar aging and vacant nursing homes throughout the state, the continued use of this facility for nursing or convalescent care is just not viable. It's not feasible by any stretch of the imagination. Luckily, though, due to the layout of this facility, including, of many of these facilities, including the one at the end of Crouch Avenue, nursing homes are often well suited for conversion to multifamily housing. And that's especially pertinent here in Connecticut, where we're suffering from a housing availability crisis. In fact, as Mr. Shuck indicated, in 2024, the Connecticut legislature, who acknowledged this growing abandonment and vacancy of nursing homes throughout the state, as well as the growing need for affordable housing, passed Public Act 24-143. And as Mr. Shuck also indicated, this new law provided what's called a summary review process. It's sort of an expedited permitting process to allow vacant nursing homes to be converted to multifamily, regardless of the zoning designation of the property. Unfortunately, this provision only applies to municipalities that zone under Connecticut General Statute 8-2. And because Norwich is a special act community, That state's legislation does not apply here, and it can't be used to help us do this conversion. Complicating matters due to the location of the property at sort of that far southeastern corner of the town and being surrounded by existing R20 zoning in the neighborhood wrapping around it. A zone change of the property to multifamily is really not an available option. Rezoning just one parcel itself for multifamily could potentially be considered illegal spot zoning. And so we did look at that option and talked with town staff about that. And it was determined that that just wasn't possible. And instead, what that left us with was an appeal for a use variance is really the only available avenue to pursue the renovation and the adaptive reuse of the nursing home. Now, under Connecticut law, to approve such an application, the board must find that a requested use variance meets two tests. The first test is you must find that the use variance does not substantially impact the comprehensive plan for zoning of the community. And two, you must find that adherence to the strict letter of the R20 district use provisions would cause my client and or the property owner exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship to carry out the general purpose of that same comprehensive plan. So tonight, I would submit to you that we meet both of those legal tests here and therefore are deserving of the use variance. First, this use variance does not undermine the city's comprehensive plan for zoning. Multifamily dwellings are allowed in multiple zoning districts throughout the city of Norwich and are especially common in multifamily districts, including the one running along Laurel Hill Avenue just west of this site. Further, in that section of town in Laurel Hill, the R20 district, while it's generally a single family district, it is not uncommon to see multifamily or duplex buildings throughout that same neighborhood. The R20 district, as I said, while it's generally a single family district, it is the densest of the city's single family zones, and it generally has the utility and road infrastructure necessary to support institutional uses like nursing homes and schools, as well as higher density residential uses. The conversion of this former nursing home to multifamily dwellings in this specific corner of the city does not compromise the comprehensive plan for zoning in any meaningful way. Further, if you look at some of the floor plans that we provided, the conceptual layouts, the configure and the photos that I provided as well, the layout and the configuration of the property and the facility itself creates exceptional difficulty and an unusual hardship to reuse the building for any conforming use that's currently allowed in the R20 district. I think you can easily look at the photos, and if you've been to the site and are familiar with it, I think we can agree that the existing property is wholly inappropriate for single family use. No one would occupy a 33,000 square foot building as a single family home. And due to the age and condition of the building, reuse for other permitted medical or nursing or convalescent uses is either just impractical or it's not possible because the state's not going to give us a license to do that. The facility has very few immediate adjacent neighbors. It's really at the end of Crouch Avenue, and its continued vacancy also creates an eyesore and an attractive nuisance in that neighborhood. In fact, I spoke to attorney Lloyd Langhammer, who has submitted a letter into the record. He owns the properties immediately to the north of this site, as well as properties in Preston to the east. And he's lamented that there has been ongoing trespassing taking place on the nursing home property, and the negative impact of having this property abandoned is a real problem for him on the value of his land. We talked, and my client has agreed to work with attorney Langhammer to try to limit trespass through this property and onto his properties, and was very supportive of our efforts to try to reopen the facility, reuse the nursing home for some type of productive use. And I think his letter reflects that discussion. More importantly, though, in most communities, as Mr. Shuck indicated, the conversion of a former nursing home to multifamily housing would be permitted under the provisions of that 2004 Public Act. But because of sort of the arcane and unique nature of special act zoning here in Norwich, we're not able to take advantage of those provisions, and we have that additional regulatory hardship to overcome to realize a reasonable reuse of the property. So in conclusion tonight, and as the city commission on the city plan agreed last month, this requested use variance does not undermine the comprehensive plan for zoning, and the use provisions of the underlying R20 district as they stand today, and the unusual nature of Norwich's zoning code do in fact create exceptional difficulties and unique hardships for the reuse of this former building for anything other than a multifamily conversion. Quite frankly, absent you granting this requested use variance, my client or the current property owner or the next potential developer have really no other reasonable or viable reuse options for this property. And I think most importantly though, and I'd like to step back and sort of take a look at the bigger picture sometimes, we believe that if this board grants the use variance tonight, it will allow us to purchase and reinvest literally millions of dollars into this property, bring it back into productive reuse, clean up a blighted and abandoned building, put it back on the tax rolls at a much higher rate, and also provide some much needed, what I call attainably priced housing for both new and existing residents of the city. For those reasons, we would ask for your favorable action tonight on our application so that we can proceed with developing actual site plans to submit to the commission on the city plan and hopefully close within the next few months on this property and move this project forward. So again, I want to thank you for your time and attention to me tonight. Myself and Mr. Wolver are both available if you have any questions whatsoever. I don't think there's any public comment, but I would reserve the right of rebuttal. Thank you.
Way around the table, Dave? This Facebook is pretty thorough, so no, I don't have any questions.
Excuse me. Early on, you had said that recently there'd been somebody that came forward and wanted to go ahead, basically doing one now, somebody different. And that was not allowed, knocked down for something, but I did not understand that.
Yeah, so not what we wanted to do. Somebody came, this is from the broker for the seller. In my conversations with them, another potential nursing home operator approached the owner of the property to buy it to reopen the nursing home. Nursing homes and convalescent care centers here in Connecticut are licensed by the state of Connecticut. You must have a state license to actually open one. And you need what's called a certificate of need from the Department of Public Health to do so. And they sought that certificate and were denied that certificate. And the state said there is no need for additional nursing homes in this area of the state. Quite frankly, the nursing homes that we have are struggling right now. The last thing we need is another one.
Okay.
And so, and it's a big issue though, because that's really what this building was originally built for.
Mhm.
And if the state won't give you a license, you can't use it for that. So what other option does the property owner or the potential property owner have? And the reality is there really is no other option other than multifamily. And because we're a special act community, the only way I can do multifamily is with the blessing of this.
Okay, thank you. I misunderstood. I didn't realize they wanted to reopen it as another nursing home again. And I understand why they said no.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that the other attorney, the buyer, had said that he was happy that the new would be willing to work with him to put up new trespassing signs and to if the town insisted that some kind of recreation facility put them back.
Which the commission on the city plan could do.
Okay,
It's not something that we would propose. If you've been out there
yes.
behind the building, it's
Right.
like, it goes down like this into a ravine.
Yeah, I drove by, I didn't look at the outside and the back.
It would be very
It
difficult.
would be
to do.
difficult.
But the commission on the city plan could insist on that. We
Okay.
have there's a picture in my package of like a gazebo area and
Yes.
sitting area. So there's a really nice sort of recreation area right now. We'd like to improve that. But if the commission insisted that we do like a walking trail or something for residents, not something we want to do because of the severity of the slope. Attorney Langhammer said, listen, what I don't want to do is promote more trespassing, because right now, as I understand it, there is a variety of dirt bikers and ATVers who use this property and access through the end of Crouch Avenue, and then they go up and they tear up his property. He has some very beautiful forested land in Preston. He just wants those people not to have another way to get onto his properties.
Yeah, so I understand his concern and I appreciate that.
Yep.
Why hasn't he put up his own no trespassing signs?
I do not speak for Attorney Langhammer. I don't have an answer for that. But what I can say is this, is my client is, would like to try to work with their neighbors, and, Mr. Attorney Langhammer and I spoke earlier this week. He laid out those 3 items for, my client and said, listen, I'll write a letter of support to the ZBA if you would agree to these, and in writing, we agreed to those, yesterday. So we have no issues with any of his requests, but, certainly we all have a responsibility to police our own properties as well.
Yeah, it just seems to me that he's turning around the requirements to the city of Norwich. And I don't think the city of Norwich should be take on any of those responsibilities at all. Seems to me that those are his responsibilities as the owner of his property. He wants to protect it.
Right.
Totally understand and agree. It's his problem. I'm sure you should not be putting that on the city of Norwich.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether those are, his letter sort of suggests that you condition our variance on it.
Right.
I'm not so sure that's appropriate,
It's not
quite
appropriate
frankly.
in my mind now.
But I will say this, I know Attorney Langhammer. I've worked with him for 20 years. I've gone against him all the way up to the Supreme Court. I have a very high level of respect for him. I'm going to work with him, whether you are part of that discussion or not. My client and I are going to try to work with him to accommodate him, trying to be a good neighbor, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, talk about, yeah, again, I'm with Ed on this, abutters agreement. I think it's really more his responsibility to take care of his property, and I do understand and appreciate the situation with off-road vehicles that Norwich has actually passed an ordinance prohibiting, but it doesn't
It's
seem
a
to.
tough one to enforce.
Yeah, well, that's it,
Really
you
hard to
know.
enforce.
All the towns are wrestling with it.
Sure.
Yeah, and I've made a couple of suggestions to the police department about how to go about that, especially confiscating some of those illegal vehicles and using them for their enforcement. That beside the point. I have a question. I don't know if you know about the development, but what is the complexion of the clientele anticipated for this?
Sure.
55 plus, all ages.
Right.
open, you know?
Yeah, so if you, it's a little bit tough to see on the drawings I provided because they're sort of shrunk down, but generally the thought process, the property is laid out with basically double stacked convalescent rooms that shared a bathroom.
Right.
So we'll take every 2 rooms, the bathroom, and then there's a utility closet in between. We'll combine 2 in 2 to create a 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
So there's about 9, I think there's 90 room, like convalescent rooms in that building now. We're gonna basically cut that in half by combining them. So we're gonna have true 1-bedroom units. So
45.
45 of them.
Yeah.
That, again, those are concept drawings.
Yeah,
We've got to
understood.
move them to an actual
A little bit,
design
sure.
development. So it could be a little bit less than that
Yeah.
at the end of it.
Yeah, understood.
I don't think it'll be a little bit more. I think we may lose some just
Yeah.
with mechanicals and stuff, but
Yeah.
but that's
Had a lot of issues
It's a lot.
with studio apartments lately,
yeah.
but
But I
that's
think
fine. I was just wondering.
I would say
if
that
the
the-
target audience is
yeah.
going to be plus 55 or all ages.
yeah, it would. I think you're going to see a large number of seniors in the development just because there is a need for attainably priced. And I say attainably priced, and you might say, well, what does that mean? I use the word attainably rather than affordable because people think affordable, they think there's income restrictions. Like we're doing an affordable housing project. There's no proposal here to do an affordable housing project. We're not going to income restrict people. But the idea is to create smaller units because that's what the demand in the marketplace is. I do a lot of 1-bedroom and studio and some 2-bedroom development. I probably have done more multifamily development in the last 20 years than any other developer or agent in southeastern Connecticut. The market right now is for smaller units And they're generally targeted toward older, over the age of 55, and younger transient working class people. They're very typically people in the middle ages from late 20s to through their 40s are looking for single family sort of detached experiences. They're going to be moving out with families. These units are too small to have kids, so these are going to be couples, roommates, singles. You also, quite frankly, on the bottom floor of this unit, we'll have some accessible units as well, active. There is a great need in this region for small affordable units for people who are struggling with physical disabilities. So whether they're in wheelchairs or they have mobility issues. So that is a huge issue because many of those people are on public assistance, SSI, they can't afford $2,500 a month for an apartment. So I think it's going to meet those three categories, sort of young, transient, working class people, older people who are retirees who don't have the money to move into Stone Ridge or Fairview and Groton. And then also maybe some people that, that are on some public assistance that, need an affordable and quality place to live. Could there be, a divorced mother with a kid in one of these? Possibly, but that's not what we're seeing. That's generally the demographic.
Yeah, my only, not concern, my only inquiry is really based on the proximity of the school that's there.
Yeah.
So, as you know, it's right next door, and when you get a senior community, quote unquote, in proximity to a younger community as that, there's lots of times conflicts. So, and get off my lawn.
Right.
So that's the only reason I asked.
But one of the nice things though, and again, I don't know if you had a lot of time to spend out there, is this is sort of a really quiet, very nice and peaceful, sort of serene little corner of Norwich. And there's heavily forested, and there's a nice existing forested buffer between this facility and Veterans right now. So even now in the fall time, when you get leaves are coming off the trees, when I walked that, this morning, you're like looking through the trees even to see the playgrounds over there. So it's a little bit set back from it. But that's part of the Commission on the City Plan review too. What are we going to do in terms of fencing, security? We're going to want those things, additional landscaping, renewing the property. So there's a lot of opportunities to do things in terms of that as well.
So has there been any discussion about fencing that you're aware of?
Yeah, we're not at this point. What we have is a concept plan right now, but we will have to submit a site plan. So a site plan requires us to show all of those external improvements and renovations. There's some things that I would say the exterior of the building needs some work. Certainly we need landscaping, and fencing sort of fits into that, lighting. But it's going to need to meet all of those new standards.
And that all has to be approved by the city commission, is that right?
Commission on the City Plan.
Commission on the city plan.
Yeah.
And so if the commission on the city plan says we like 90% of it, maybe change that over 10%, that kind of get worked out as part of the process?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that's right.
So in a site plan, you have to meet basic health, safety, and welfare items.
Okay.
And they have a list. So there's rules about landscaping,
Yeah.
there's rules about lighting, there's rules about fencing, there's rules about dumpster enclosures, all the things. So those are what you have to meet. And what Mr. Schuck said was right though. Under a site plan review, if you meet all of those requirements effectively, it doesn't always happen. Effectively, the commission has no choice but to grant you the approval.
Yeah, I was concerned about that because, I put myself in the shoes of the residents who live in the neighborhood right now. They're mostly single family, small homes. And, I think if I personally was one of those owners of one of those little houses there, I had 45 single apartments, all of a sudden open up 2 blocks away with school another block away from that, I'd be concerned.
Although there are hundreds of apartments directly to the west of them along Laurel Hill. All of Laurel Hill is multifamily.
Yeah, but it's not as easy to, to get back and forth, from that area to where the school and the new apartments will be.
Sure.
And I saw it. I mean, I took a ride and I was shocked to see the place. I didn't know it existed. So
It really is tucked away. And But I think the reality is if it's not converted to multifamily, it will continue to sit there. For instance,
Yeah, I can
one
understand.
issue is
What else
the
do you do?
current owners haven't paid their taxes since, you know, the facility closed. There's no money coming in,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So eventually the city would end up with it through tax foreclosure. And in fact, I talked with Amy Wickles, the associate corporation counsel. You know, they were preparing to foreclose when we signed the contract for this. We said, listen, we can pay this, all the back taxes. And so they're holding, waiting, hoping that this board approves it. You know, what is the long-term, you know, outcome is a vacant building that the city owns. It's going to be like another Cape Park type situation until somebody breaks in there and sets a fire. We have trespassing right now. No, but you don't, but I mean,
He's still on the clock.
the nuisance value of abandoned buildings and the
You're
risk
100%
of somebody getting hurt or a firefighter having to go in to fight a fire, the sooner we can get people in there. The other thing too is, as opposed to the multifamily on the other side of this neighborhood along Laurel Hill, we're gonna have to meet all new code. So we're gonna have to bring that building up to current residential code. So we're gonna have a safe building, we're gonna have security on the building. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a real jewel when it's done.
Has there been any discussion about, you know, the densities also bothers me as much as anything else. And has there been any discussion about having some of these apartments? Everyone is gonna be a single bedroom apartment. Any discussion about making, you know, some 2-bedroom apartments,
So,
3-bedroom
yeah,
apartments?
those are all things that are open for discussion. I mean, what we tried to do is show you what we could do in the building. That is not our application to the Commission on the City Plan. That is an architect taking creative license saying, we could do this, we could do that. So yeah, we would absolutely look at that. You know, one of the things we need to look at too is just sort of the finishes too. You know, what is the market? What will the market bear? Where do we think sort of the sweet spots are? We also have to do finish the pro forma on what it's going to cost to renovate. And that really, then you start thinking about your debt service load because you're going to be taking money out. And then what is your net operating income when you have 45 or 35 apartments paying in? There's a lot of work that has to be done, but you know, no developer spends money on that level of design. You know, architects and engineers cost hundreds of dollars an hour. Nobody does that if the property can't even be used for the use. So the first step here is come to the ZBA, say, we'd like to do a multifamily project. You bless us to do it, and then we work that out and we go and finish the details with the Commission on the City Plan.
But hasn't there been a discussion with the city on the commission plan already and said yes, 100% like it?
Yeah, there was a discussion on the use variance.
It's used to that.
And so all use variances are referred to the Commission on
Okay,
the
so
City
we
Plan.
didn't get into specifics about the number of bedrooms. and
No.
size.
Yeah,
Just
because-
the idea of.
Oh, that's good, because personally, I'm not in favor of 45 single apartments.
Well, and those are the things that we'll be working out with the Commission on the City Plan. They're the body that's charged with that authority.
Okay. Thank you.
If you think about it, you guys opened the door to let us in, but we still got to negotiate with the Commission on the City. But we can't even get in to do that without your support.
But if you get in, you'd be receptive to that. and-
We'd be receptive to anything, quite frankly. I mean, if the Commission on the City Plan has ideas, there are things that they would like us to look at. You know, and this is why I was reluctant to tell Mr. Langhammer that I wouldn't do anything in the back, even though we don't intend it, because Commission on the City Plan say, oh, we would love you to do some walking trails back there. Well, okay, if that's what it's gonna take, we'll do that. So we have to allow us to work through those details.
Does this group have input into the commission and city plan, kinds of suggestions? No.
Well, other than the record of the meeting, if they choose to.
If they choose to read it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if we have theirs.
What? Well, okay, the obvious question is, well, how does the ordinary citizen, if that's what it takes to get some input into the commission and the city plan to, you know, assuming this gets approved,
Sit in a meeting.
to sit in and say, okay, but, you know, how about this and how about that? And how does that work?
Well, it's a public hearing. right?
Public hearing.
Yeah.
But not tested, it's public hearing, you can go and attend, but you can't speak for.
Yeah, I understand.
But everybody can speak to the staff. I mean,
Right.
I mean, Mr. Shuck doesn't serve as staff to the Commission on the City Plan. You got Ms. Rhodes, Mr. Deniska. So we work with them all the time, and if people have concerns, they can say that, wait, listen, I have this, really wanted to address this issue. You know, I'm sure we're gonna hear issues about trespass, because apparently it's not just Mr. Langhammer. A lot of people are worried about the people who are hanging out on the property. So I'm sure that's gonna come up, and we wanna make sure that we address those.
Has there been any other, feedback from any other butters?
No, I think we may have a couple of butters here in attendance. I did get a couple phone calls from people, explain what was going on. And made sure they had the link, so there may be a couple of others here. I do want to also make it clear that the letter from Attorney Langhammer, when I did receive it, I did go to Deanna and presented it to her to have her look at it, to make sure that she didn't see anything in here that would create obstacles with the CCP, should they decide they want a walking trail. Because I wanted to make sure that there was nothing in here that could trip something up down the road. And she had no issues with it.
I guess I'm good.
To follow up on Attorney Sweeney, there's been a number of instances where I have talked to members on the TCP, particularly the Water Street property. You know, I've talked to
Oh,
them,
yeah,
obviously not in a group, you know, one-on-one,
right.
making a point to know the other people of the board and, hey, this is what the board was saying.
Yeah.
Give them our opinion. So you have the right to do that. type of
Okay,
thing, And
okay.
I have exercised that.
Great, thank you.
So, but I'm telling you, if you feel strong about it, talk to the other members of the board, talk to your councilman, talk to everyone.
Right,
Concerning.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Bob?
No, I've voiced my question. Thank you.
Paul?
You know, my only concern, you know, and it'll be addressed through the commission, the city plan was parking. Because I was
Sure.
looking at a 26-year-old map.
Yeah.
And I only see 39 parking spots
Mhm.
for 45 units. And when my mother was there, you know, I had to park on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You know, so that was, you know, from what I understand,
That's a-
that'll be addressed through the city.
And that's a great point. So that kind of analysis, the parking demand comes from the number of units. So until we finalize the architectural plan, we don't know what the number of units is. And then we'll go back, and if there's not enough parking, we either have to add parking or we have to reduce the number of units. So, but that's a great point.
I think that was addressed in one of my.
Yeah,
memos.
you mentioned
you
it.
said something about.
It's silly to have like 3/4 of a parking
Well, parking calculations are based on mathematical, but
silliness.
they change as more units, so you don't want necessarily one per unit. So mathematically, if it's 3/4 for a 1-bedroom or studio.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this, I know some of you know, I was the city planner here for time, 20 years, another lifetime ago. Towns have moved so far away from how we did parking in the past, because parking in the past created things like Norwich Town Mall and just these massive expanses of pavement that you have to treat the stormwater from, and it's caused environmental degradation, and it's just a waste of space. So we've done a much better job on sort of calculating actual parking demand now, and there's great studies that, just like the traffic studies, can almost to the T predict how many cars are generated in any hours. You can do that with parking for different uses based on the price points of the units, the combination of the units, the market that you're in. So those are all things that we'll be working on, you know, as we develop the plan for them.
And part of our updates in the regulations will be, it's reducing parking requirements in a lot of cases too. As Attorney Sweeney said, you look at the mall over there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a sea of asphalt. And that was the old way of doing things. The new way is,
20 years from now, we won't regulate parking at all, as far as I'm concerned.
that's where it's moving now. Yeah.
It's just gonna be what you operationally need to use, because we're not gonna get into telling people how
Or there may
In
be
theory,
a
it's-
rooftop heliports.
Right.
Exactly.
Everybody has a
Good for now.
personal. Thank you.
Paul, you're all
Heard it
set?
here
Yep. Dottie?
Dottie, you're muted.
Dottie? No, I don't know if Dottie's still there.
Can you unmute her? Yes, no, she has to do it herself.
Ask.
Yes, somebody else.
No.
Come on.
Dottie?
Dottie. He's a board member.
If she can't get her back, we'll switch Paul over as voting member, because being Zoom, we have no way of knowing if she disconnected, if she left the.
It's not like she has a live feed either.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
To me, I'll just go, we'll come back to Dottie. To me, it's right where I started. This is pretty simple. We're asking to vary to make up for the section, the special act that Norwich falls under. And the site, I have fought a fire in that building. And it was ugly then, and it was when it was in better repair. The sprinklers were better, the the fire alarm was better, and properties like this scare me, so I hate to see this property go into further disrepair. Some of the other concerns that I heard, I can understand. Do I want 50 one bedroom? Presently, when it was a nursing home, we had 90. You know, not everybody had a visitor, but you could have had 80, 90 people coming in there. Plus staff, and an entourage of ambulances coming in and out, and doctors, you know, they didn't have cars, but there was, I think it's almost a less of an impact, you know, to that property. But development, tax base, is it harmonious with the neighborhood? The neighbors that we're worried about, this was built 60 years ago. They moved next door to a nursing home. We're not asking to drop a multifamily in their neighborhood. They moved to something that was multifamily in my mind. So I will be supporting this, and for the fact that it's harmonious with the neighborhood, it's an improvement for the city. It's a need. And denying it would not be affording the applicant reasonable use of his property. You know, the state has said that wouldn't be a reasonable use, you know, we don't need this anymore. That's what it is. And if we don't grant this, one of our big checkpoints is this denying them reasonable use. And so to me, I think we need to grant this, and we need to entrust in the Commission on the City Plan. And I urge you, if you have concerns, to reach out to the members of there. Hey, I want this. We went through this on the Water Street proposal and on the Market Street proposal. This board's a little split on 1 bedroom versus 2 bedroom. I'm more of a 1 bedroom guy because I don't want to flood the schools. And I understand the board's reasoning. And I've talked to council members and CCP members to keep that in mind, because sometimes these projects, if we turn this into 25 2 or 3 bedrooms instead of 51 bedrooms, and we put 50 kids in the school system at $12,000 a year per kid, we far offset the tax base. So I've mentioned it each time. I'm just going to be consistent with that. And that's not us to talk about, but it's certainly something to talk about to the Commission on City Planning members and the council as we move these projects forward. But so I will.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
I died.
Dottie,
Okay, I don't know what happened. I have no idea. Okay, I'm here anyway for now.
do you have any questions for Attorney Sweeney?
No, I don't. It was very clear. I'm all set.
Is there any?
Might be people online, I think.
Well, we're gonna go for in favor and then we'll go online. You all set, Attorney Sweeney?
I'm all set.
Okay, is there anyone else to speak in favor of this appeal? Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone online that is interested in speaking in favor of this appeal? Anyone online speaking in favor of this appeal? Anyone online speaking in favor? Hearing none. Is there anyone online who'd like to speak in opposition? Is there anyone?
Yeah,
Your name and address for the record, please, sir?
Kevin Jalili, 18 Crouch Avenue.
What, go ahead, state your concerns to the board, please.
My concerns are traffic up and down this street. You have school who lets out at a certain time of the day, teachers who leave the school at a certain time of the day. We've had children get hit by a car across the street some 20 years ago. The town hasn't even fixed the stairs that border Crouch Avenue I'm waiting for somebody to fall and sue the shit out of the city. As soon as they fall on the stairs there, Bentley Avenue extension, that's gonna happen. You guys got no signs for liability whatsoever. Listen, there's enough traffic right now as people walk their dogs. We do like the community. Well, I like the community the way it is. I think that you're gonna be in flooding our little nook of the woods with crime. I'd like to see statistics on crime. I'd like to see statistics on traffic. I think this is a bad project for the neighborhood. And for the record, when I bought my home originally in 1997, I did not know there was a convalescent home. That was of I had no idea it was up there until I moved in and all the traffic started.
I appreciate that point. I just don't know how to take it because it's been there for
I
40
think
years
you
before you bought that.
turn into a disaster if this is approved. That's my feeling.
Thank you.
Can you spell his last name?
Can you please spell your last name for the record?
Jalili.
Thank you.
And is there a tax? What's that going to do to our taxes if you approve this? Is there a tax break for us? Because taxes are through the roof. What's
That wouldn't be something this board could handle. That would be through the assessor's office and how the project gets moved forward. But in simple terms, to me, and I'm only speaking on my opinion, we have a property that isn't paying the taxes, getting run down and bringing property values down. And it's going to go on the tax base. It's going to improve our taxes.
right? Yeah, there. Yeah.
Certainly, if it brings more kids or more services necessary, it could be an adverse effect. You're not totally wrong. But in the short term, it should be an improvement. And that's only my opinion, nothing legal.
I think more information is needed before a decision like this can be made. I don't think this panel has heard enough to make a decision to yay favor the gentleman's proposal. Listen, I'm not on your 3-man panel or however big your panel is. I'm just listening, shooting my mouth from the outside looking in, and I don't think you've had enough. There's too many other things that need to be discussed before this should go forward. And I think be an open forum for all of the town to listen, who wants to listen. I didn't know anything about it. I only got this letter because a neighbor happened to stop me when I was walking my dog because I'm not an abutting property.
Okay.
So nobody on this block knows. This was a very hidden agenda as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the way the town legal notices work, it's been published in the newspaper, it's been advertised, but by
Sure.
statute, they don't have to they don't have to notify everybody,
Right.
everybody on the street,
You're right, but I just think more people should know that live on Crouch Avenue, that deal with the traffic on a daily basis.
Well, point well taken, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add before I move to the next?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? Anyone else to speak in opposition?
Can you scroll down? Somebody.
No, that's.
Anyone else to speak in opposition? Hearing none, Attorney Sweeney, as the applicant, if there's something you'd like to add or.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, Stephanie?
Hi, I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute myself. How are you?
Great. Give an address for the record, please.
Yes, Stephanie Sinelli and 60 Urington Ave.
Okay,
So Urington Ave is actually right off of Crouch, so just slightly down the road. But I just wanted to mention that it is, I know you've already spoken about how it's a mostly single family homes here in this area, and it's pretty quiet. I know Laurel Hill, of course, gets busy, but these couple of side streets are nice and quiet. We do have a good amount of traffic already with the buses and the school. So I just can't see anything good coming from increasing the traffic significantly in a residential area. And we have people that walk their kids down the road to school. And I know several neighbors that I've spoken to that would be very uncomfortable doing that with affordable housing right there, especially with it being right so close to the school. And we do have a good amount of traffic already. We've had pets, get hit by cars because of the buses flying by and the teachers. So to increase that significantly is really going to affect, I think, a lot of the families and residents here in this area.
thank you. Anything else you'd like to add? Any questions for Stephanie?
I have a question. Is Crouch Road the only entrance and exit to Veterans Memorial School?
Yes, there's signs that feed into it.
Side roads that feed into Crouch, but still we gotta go down Crouch.
Right,
Only way in and out of school.
Right.
right. Yeah.
So it's just the follow-up, not for Stephanie, and just a out of the box thought. Would the city ultimately consider taking some other entrance and exit out of the school?
Those are questions.
Private
Private property. I've seen the map. I'm just thinking a little bit out of the box, and maybe there's another way to get to the school. When I was driving down Laurel Hill the other day, I was looking for a sign showing me go this way to Memorial School, to Veterans Memorial School. I didn't even see a sign. I was surprised to learn that it seemed like Crouch was the only way. So I can understand the residents' concerns about school buses and the teachers. And I guess the number of in and outs of the people who were there when it was a nursing home versus the people who may be there as partners may be about the same. But obviously there's concern already. So something to think about.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Stephanie?
No, I think that was it. But yes, if there was another way to the school, that would be a dream come true, I think, for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in opposition? Any opposition? Any opposition? Now hearing none, Attorney Sweeney, if there's something you'd like to add before we.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. Certainly, as I said before, the Commission on the City Plan is charged with reviewing health, safety, and welfare matters. Any development in the city that comes within its jurisdiction, and traffic is one of those things. So, making sure that we have clear and adequate safe sight lines, we have proper stop apparatus at our entrances, that the road is suitable and sufficient to deal with whatever traffic we put on, all falls within the Commission on the City Plan's exclusive jurisdiction, supported by the local traffic authority, which is the police chief. And so there are issues there that will be handled at the proper time. In terms of crime, that's a thing that people throw out against multifamily development. There's no basis for that whatsoever. Crime is much more of an issue of demographics and a variety of other factors. Multifamily housing has no greater level of crime in and of itself. So I just would reject any argument along those lines. Taxes, I think the chairman said a great point. It's not something that should be considered in a variance proceeding anyways. But certainly 1-bedroom units should be revenue positive for the town. And certainly I can say this, you'll be getting more taxes tomorrow than you will be today because they're not paying right now. And that's a positive thing. And that affects everybody's tax bill. When you have people who don't pay their taxes, everyone else has to pick up the slack. And again, just for the record, notice that was provided was sufficient, legally sufficient based on your regulation. You tell us how to give the notice, so we follow those. In terms of the second speaker, I want to just reiterate this. This is not affordable housing. In the state of Connecticut, affordable housing means income restricted, meeting the requirements of Section 8-30G of the Connecticut General Statutes. There are formulas that are put out by HUD. This is not income restricted housing. This is market rate housing, but it's attainably priced. We're not building 3-bedroom, 4,000 square foot apartments. We're trying to build things for working people and for retirees, for people that may be on fixed incomes. So we hope that we think there's a need for that throughout southeastern Connecticut, certainly here in Norwich. And then, as I said before, just finally, the issues of traffic, again, within the purview of the Commission on the City Plan, I can tell you that 45 units of housing produces a de minimis amount of traffic. I was a city planner for 5 years. I've been doing development in the state of Connecticut for over 20. What you will see is even if you had everyone leave, that if you had 45 units, if everyone left in one single hour, one peak hour, that's 45 cars over 60 minutes, which is less than a car a minute. That's not a measurable amount of traffic. And I think any traffic engineer would agree with that. And certainly we'll address that at the proper point, the Commission on the City Plan. That does not mean, however, that I don't appreciate the fact of the anecdotal nature of traffic. People live in neighborhoods, they say, well, I have too much traffic. I would submit that we in Eastern Connecticut live in a very special place. You want to see traffic, go to LA, go to New York. Traffic where you have congestion, where it actually affects businesses, it affects the quality of life, affects air pollution. We live in a very low traffic area. And so I'm confident that our analysis, our engineers' analysis, when we get to that point, will substantiate that. So thank you again for your time tonight. And again, I focus you back on the variances, the impact of your comprehensive plan, and the hardships and unique challenges that we face because of the restrictions within the R20, the nature of this building, this site, and then that arcane sort of backward nature of course being a special act community. I think those all are valid legal basis for hardship, and the variance requested should be granted. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions for Attorney Sweeney? Hearing none.
Bob Phoenix, make a motion to close public hearing for B 2512.
Second that. All those in favor to close?
Bob Phoenix, aye.
Good night, Rebecca.
Dave Martin, aye. Dottie?
Dottie, aye.
Mark Benjamin, aye. Closed. So we can go on to discussion and possible decisions. Business, yeah, sure. B 2512, 60 Crouch Ave, appeal of use variance, section 1.4.2.3 to allow multifamily dwellings by site plan review in accordance with section 6.4 and subject to the special bulk requirements of multifamily district to facilitate the conversion of a former nursing home. Property of Norwich Senior Realty LLC, application of Stanley Abraham, assessors map number 125, block 2, lot 13, R20 zone.
Bob Phoenix, motion to approve.
I'll second.
I as it was explained and finally clarified what this application is for, I support the purpose of the application. Also, for the other reasons that are stated as taking a attractive nuisance off of the available list, and of course having, yes, it's a new owner, is that correct? Yeah, a new owner taking possession and redeveloping the building, which would also further reduce the emergency services resources that we now have potential to expend on that. It would be an improvement to the city as an asset in general. And I do believe actually it would become an asset to the neighborhood with potential new people, new residents starting up their housing careers and transitioning to some of the houses that may become available within the neighborhood as well. So for those reasons, I will support this.
You didn't really list a hardship.
Hardship is our special
Our zoning regulations fall under
special, well, the special act serves to eliminate the situation that we're in today, but with this application, but the Norwich being under a special, is it special application, special act? It is special act.
Yeah.
As we are a special act community, creates a situation where this does need to be before us as variance. So I see that as a.
See anything else? You good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Other people.
It's your motion, is the only reason.
It is, I know, and I sort of voted on, but you know, if anybody else.
I'd like to discuss the law, Hammer's requests. That these three things that he's asked for to be included as part of our decision to say yes. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's his land. If he wants to put up trespassing signs, that's his obligation. He should not make that application with the city of Norwich. Basically, he said that 3 different ways. So I'm okay with this, but I don't think these requests by Attorney Loghammer should be included in any motions going forward.
I agree with you, Bob Phoenix. I agree with you on that this should actually be a either legal or gentleman's agreement between Attorney Loghammer and principals of the property.
Shocked me, because I thought you were gonna make it a condition. The way you started to say it, I thought you were making it a condition.
My condition is they don't go on.
Okay. Dave?
I'd like to add, as far as the hardship goes, is the inability to reopen it as a nursing home because the state of Connecticut is not currently granting licenses for additional. So, that's addition to the but community, that's the first hardship. The individuals who spoke opposed to this, I appreciate their concerns. As far as the crime goes, an unoccupied building is just a crime magnet from my viewpoint. And having people in it will, just, in my opinion, reduce that, potential. As far as traffic goes, that's a little bit out of our preview zoning. Plan will consider as appropriate that. I hope the design of the project takes some of that into account. But just from a general standpoint, based on the current plan, the building size, will be limited to roughly 45 people, or 45 apartments, 45 people. And that is, not huge change in traffic, but I do appreciate that. That's important. So you plan to fix that.
And build sidewalks.
Just gonna jump on a line, just to follow up to Dave's point. Dave kind of hit on what I was leaning towards. I see this as following up with them not being able to reopen as a nursing home by the state licensure. I see this failure to approve this is denying them a re, which is a critical check mark for a hardship. So that would be the special act of denial of the reasonable use. It's not my motion, so I'm not gonna say, I just wanna, that's why I would be supporting it. But, I'll go keep going around the room. Dottie, was there something you'd like to add or your opinion on?
Well, if it's being taken over and fixed properly, it'll improve the appearance of the location. That has been an eyesore for years there. I had family that were there years ago when it was a nursing home. But aesthetically, I feel that it's going to improve it, and I think it'll improve the neighborhood in general. The values of the property, it may improve it. It may not be a negative impact, as the members have mentioned, people in the neighborhood. I would tend to think it would more of a positive rather than a negative. Being that if, the site plan is done properly, it'll be a positive for the neighborhood. So that's my thinking.
Paul, although you're not gonna be voting on this, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, if I were voting tonight, I would vote in favor of it for the aforementioned reasons. I mean, one's definitely a nuisance, attractive nuisance, nice term. But it is, I mean, in the reduction in our emergency services usage, and somebody mentioned Cape Art. You mentioned Cape Art? Yeah, but anyway, I used to work next door to Cape Art. And I remember that was the first thought that came to my mind. That place has been abandoned for 5 years or longer, and sooner or later it's going to catch on fire. And I agree with Mark about as far as if it's single family, and single bedroom apartments, you're not going to have 4 kids in the school system, so it's revenue positive, and plus the back taxes is going to be paid, and it's definitely there is no other use for that property.
Again, I sympathize with the neighbors and their points, but in a month and a half, the residents that are gonna be in that property are far worse than anybody low income, affordable, or anything else. That if this turned into Section 8, it would be a lot better than the residents that'll be moving in there as the temperature gets colder.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll be creating their own heat source,
You're talking about homeless people,
Mhm.
unhoused.
unhoused people,
Yeah.
is that the proper term these
That
days?
That is the proper term.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I could add also that, for the consideration of people who are worried that, the proposed outline of development, it seems negative. If the other alternative for the owners, the potential owners of this would be to tear down and subdivide the property and build new single-family homes. They would be looking at years worth of development of homes at the end of their street, which means construction workers, construction vehicles, noise. So, this is pretty much a quick fix to a bad situation.
Yeah, and, not much in terms of number of houses and a lot more money.
Yeah, I was looking at the site plan, I'm thinking that
It's a good quick fix, is the way to look at it.
if you're divided into
I mean,
at least 15,
I
20.
guess maybe quick is relative, but I'm pretty sure that this is gonna not be quick.
Well, talking like.
That I am pretty confident of, until they
Right now,
bring it up to code, this quick is,
Well,
not
we're
what I
talking a
would
couple of
use.
years as opposed to.
It's gonna be
3, 4,
quicker
or
than,
5.
a bunch of houses.
well, yeah, but I still wouldn't call it quick.
No, and I did that math. And not that you could do it, but 20,000, R20 is 20,000 square feet. An acre is 40,000. They got 10 acres. So they could build 2 per acre. They could, if you could cookie cutter, you had enough frontage, you could put 10 houses in there, 20 houses. Now, 20 houses, 23-bedroom houses, what's that gonna build us? How many 23-bedroom houses are gonna generate 2 cars or 3 cars?
Right.
Now,
Right.
we're
You have to do other
67.
stuff.
and
You have to do other stuff.
yeah, you'd have to build a road and you could do this, but quick, down and dirty, this is a lot less impactful. On so many fronts.
Yeah, just the traffic. And again, I'd be thinking out of the box, and maybe just a wild, crazy idea, but it would be nice to have another entrance into that school. I don't know how the fire department or the city police department handle that now, but you'd think they'd not be happy about that situation.
No, one way in, one way out, and I can honestly tell you when there's a fire alarm, I'm one of the guys speeding up Crouch Ave. That's.
It's not good.
All right,
All that can be resolved through the city on the commission plan, and it's not in our,
correct.
wheelhouse to resolve.
Are you comfortable with the motion after everything you heard?
Yes.
You're comfortable with the second? All those in favor to grant the motion as presented?
Phoenix, I.
And everything.
Dave Martin, I.
Dottie?
Dottie Travers, I.
Mark Benjamin, aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so
Look
much.
forward to the mission of the city plan.
Appreciate your time tonight, guys, everybody. Thank you again for having a special meeting.
For answering all the questions.
No problem. Look forward to seeing you guys again real soon.
This week.
Take care,
And I
guys.
don't have to tell you about the appeal period, right?
You don't, it's my job. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Thank you guys, I'll see you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Do we have any issues on holidays or anything like that? Staff updates?
No, the one update that I didn't get onto the agenda was the schedule for next year. Push it on, certainly, I'll put it on the next month.
Yeah.
And even for next month, if I don't have anything for an agenda, maybe we'll just have a quick Zoom meeting to approve that or something. If everybody thinks that's easy enough when we don't have anything for the agenda for business,
Yeah,
other than
there's
something
no
small like that.
Yeah, little Zoom is great.
Yeah, we can approve these minutes.
And I think last year for all the meetings for the year, you put out something that put the meeting date in our calendars.
Yes.
Every month.
Yep.
That's very nice.
Yeah, because once I take the meeting list, then I go and I generate. Just sends it out there. I'm not sure, Now, I made some changes recently with these two meetings. Did you guys get notices or you just, did it show up in your calendar as a change date?
I don't know, honestly.
I did get it as a calendar item, but
I don't think it was.
So I may have just changed it
Yeah.
and not sent the notice out. I'm still trying to figure this out.
for another staff update, I'd like to formally welcome Paul Whitler as our latest alternate member. Hopefully, soon to become both of you, either of you, permanent member.
You want to introduce yourself a little, Paul? Tell everybody about you.
Sure.
Background.
A lifelong resident of Norwich, grew up in Taphville. Graduated the NFA. That market. Back in 1982, we've been friends ever since. And,
Until I put him on this board.
yeah. Currently live in the oldest house, one of the oldest houses in Norwich. It's a work in progress, but my interests are history, architecture, and Mark asked me if I would be interested in, on board, and I said, sure, because I wanted, I now have time to do things, for the betterment of the town, before I was always working and didn't have time, I was always working on the town. Now I'm home and, I can do this, and I want to do my bit for the city, I want to make sure that, I want to see the city thrive. I don't want us to get taken advantage of. Seen it too many times in over the last 30 years that I've been paying attention. We've had all these white knights who promise the world, and and then they fizzle away. We just leave us with empty buildings.
You have a very similar history to me. I'm on a historic, Norwich historic district.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a group very similar to once a month. I think they're full up at the moment, but you might see that.
I'll do that. I'm outside the,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, but
I'm outside of it.
but that's something I would consider as well. I'd like to see of the architecture. Buy an old house, you're just a steward for a temporary period of time until you out or I'm dead. And then moves on to someone else.
How old's your house?
It's built in 1660.
Wow. That's older. So it does have mine beat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, mine was moved in the 50s when they built, what was then Route 52, now 395. Okay. It was moved.
What street are you?
It's on Clinton Avenue. On the dead end side. I'm right behind Ace Hardware.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Thanks for joining.
Did I update everybody on the other property that we approved last month? Or a month and a half ago? No. Okay, so I talked to friends of the developer. We all left wondering, were they happy they got just the 3,000 or were they mad? They're mad. Good.
Oh, this
They-
is
The parking garage underneath.
Yeah.
They were hoping, they thought they were throwing us a bone at 1,000. They were hoping to get away with 500. And they're crying foul and questioning if the project is even feasible.
you got it.
Come on.
For that little difference?
For that property?
That's their cry. But if we all walked out, we discussed it afterwards, like, hey, did we do right or not? They don't think that 3,000 is a low expectation.
Wow.
So, but I drove by there today and construction's going full blast, so I don't,
I thought that even when we were meeting, they were doing stuff inside.
they're gutting.
So they.
But even
they
then,
still
they-
have not supplied. all
No,
of
they
their
can get,
plans.
they demolition no matter what's gonna happen, no matter what's gonna go in, you're gonna gut the
All right.
place.
But
doesn't matter what.
Based on that, I have to show that.
So now they're considering not even doing it?
No, they're just saying, they're questioning how feasible it'll be. Just as Attorney Sweeney mentioned, we gotta do a market study on the
Yeah.
cost.
Give me
And, yeah, they haven't, as Rich just said, they haven't forwarded everything to CCP on what they're gonna do, but what they envisioned
Yeah.
was a lot less than what we expected. And I don't feel bad.
No.
After I heard it, the more, I was more upset that we didn't go to the 5 or 7,000. You know, because as Paul just said about being a steward, I feel that we should be doing our part to make sure that development is right and we don't have to just take everything that comes through.
I mean,
With that,
if the city, as they redo the zoning, decides that, you know, less retail appropriate, that's city council does that, that's one thing. I just don't believe our board should be,
Yeah.
making decisions that level.
do you understand what we're talking about?
Yeah, Water Street,
Water Street, right?
the old CBT.
Yes, we, I don't know if anybody else is familiar with, the New Haven's, Firestone building, Firestone and Pirelli, and
Oh, yeah.
it's now a hotel.
Hotel, yeah.
So there is reuse, there is viable reuse for, old office buildings. And I just want to pass this around because this is now the first floor, which they
For
were,
the Pearly building?
the Pirelli building.
Yeah.
That is what they did. It's commercial space available for the hotel. There are boutiques, there are coffee shops, there, the entire first floor.
Yeah.
So when they came in and said, oh, we can't do anything with that, they were blowing smoke.
Yeah.
And, so I'm glad.
All right, at Rich's, we went further than we probably should have. We haven't adjourned yet. So we're still on the next.
We're still being taped, right?
Yes, so we're still being taped. So if I could get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Bob Phoenix. Second.
All those in favor of adjourn?
Bob Phoenix, aye.
Yeah, that guy.
Tim Martin, aye. Mark Benjamin, aye. Dottie,
Dottie Travers, I.
meeting adjourned 8:33.